दोस्तों इस क्लास में आपको डिक्टेशन दूंगा मैं 100 WPM पर एसएससी और DSSSB के लिए जो स्पेशल मैटर मैंने तैयार किए हैं उसकी आपको डिक्टेशन प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूं 100 WPM पर। बी रेडी फॉर इट। चेयरमैन सर, थैंक यू फॉर गिविंग मी an opportunity to speak on the bill to amend the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Act 2005. As the Minister just stated, the new legislation prohibits the financing of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems. We cannot disagree with the Minister on the bill. But, however, I want to make a few observations and suggestions. The entire bill speaks about a person, an individual who finances weapons of mass destruction. Probably, you have only amended the original act and not had a look at that. But I would like to suggest that more than individuals who finance weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems, it is organizations, it is countries. Also, the original act envisaged largely for Indian citizens and extraterritorial applications. But you should now consider that this act applies to foreigners, foreign citizens, where we have extradition agreements with the foreign countries. We all know who is financing the terror operations against India. There is specific information about them regarding financing weapons of mass destruction. I think it has also put Pakistan on the grey list. The government of India needs to do more about countries financing weapons of mass destruction against India. I would like to bring to the notice of the Minister through you that as far as weapons of mass destruction are concerned, I have personal knowledge. I have served in the armed forces of India. I have served on both China and Pakistan borders as a fighter pilot. It should be alarming that all of the Pakistani aircraft and the modern Chinese aircraft now are delivery systems for any of the weapons of mass destruction. They can deliver tactical nuclear weapons, they can deliver chemical weapons. So, on the one hand, you have the modern acquisitions by Pakistan and China and the present aircraft being able to deliver weapons of mass destruction, and on the other hand, the Indian Air Force with a sanctioned strength of 42 fighter squadrons has now come down to 28. I think the government should take a very serious note of this. I would like to also bring to the notice of the government through you that weapons of mass destruction were seriously used last in World War II when the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were totally destroyed by an atomic bomb. After that, for many decades, countries were afraid to use weapons of mass destruction. But of late, countries are becoming more brazen in using weapons, whether it is in Syria or in the present Russia-Ukraine conflict, where the Russian president himself in his statement asked his nuclear forces to be alert. I think the government of India must take note of this disturbing trend. The government of India must also take note of the fact that the weapons of mass destruction, whether they are nuclear, chemical or biological, are now becoming far more potent and powerful. I would also like to caution the Government of India that drones are now being manufactured to carry weapons of mass destruction. This is an alarming situation. Now, we also have a situation where we have instability in our neighboring country. Actually, anything is possible now. Honorable Chairperson, Sir, I would like to mention a few points about proliferation financing, which this bill talks about. Most countries use existing mechanisms against terrorism and money laundering to achieve non-proliferation financing. The Financial Action Task Force report on proliferation financing suggests that countries must also raise awareness and help clarify the obligations on individuals, firms, and financial institutions to be vigilant to proliferation and proliferation financing, as well as provide a basis within the country's legal framework to report suspicious financial activity. The present bill does not mention either. In order to fully achieve deterrence against proliferation financing, a level of international cooperation is required with respect to extradition. This is to avoid creating safe havens for violators of the law and to ensure mutual legal assistance for investigation and prosecution against proliferating financing and against those who are financing weapons of mass destruction. However, at present, India has only around 60 extradition treaties or agreements with other nations. Once again, I would like to mention about delivery systems. Please do not go by an earlier definition of delivery systems. I want to remind that when Shri Vajpayee ji was the Prime Minister, Kargil War took place. It was he who ordered the Air Force to strike with whatever weapons they have so that the war could be ended, and he succeeded. I think as you were in the army, you knew how many casualties you would have had. It was his decision, master decision, to use whatever you have and destroy the enemy in those very bunkers which were our bunkers that they were sitting in. You must be clear about it. He did it, and he did it with firm determination. I recall India's role in the domain of disarmament. Ever since independence, India's foreign policy has been in pursuit of global nuclear disarmament. In 1998, at the special session of the United General Assembly on disarmament at New York, the then Prime Minister Shri Rajiv Gandhi gave a proposal to the United Nations for a phased elimination of nuclear weapons in a time-bound framework. But that attempt did not succeed since some of the countries were not cooperating at that time. Since then, time and again, we proved India's status, though we got the status as nuclear weapons state, and we did not mitigate our stand that our objective is nuclear weapon free world. From its inception, the institution of the National Security Advisor and the Deputy National Security Advisor is being somehow restricted to the Indian Foreign Service or Indian Police Service. it would be very appropriate if a military expert will also be the national security advisor or at least a deputy advisor. Thank you very much. Stop. दोस्तों इसी के साथ ये डिक्टेशन फिनिश होती है। उम्मीद है आप लोगों ने इसे अच्छे से लिखा होगा। 80 WPM की स्पीड पहले ही प्रोवाइड आपको कर चुका हूं। अगर आपने वो लिख ली है तो 100 पे ज़रूर लिखिए एक बार। आपसे मुलाकात करता हूं अगली क्लास में अगली ट्रांसक्रिप्शन के साथ। तब तक के लिए बाय बाय, टेक केयर।